I thought I made it abundantly clear why standing for 4 hours plus and having to lift 25 pounds were barriers for disabled people. Not barriers put in place because that is the job that needs to be done, but specific barriers that are put in jobs so that they do not have to hire disabled people. I know this as a fact because nothing in that job requires you to stand for 4 hours. You need to do things like sort books, put away books, tape up and repair books, make photocopies, etc. None of that requires you to be standing for 4 hours total. You can sit and sort a book. Somebody in a wheelchair can sit and sort books. Somebody in a wheelchair can go and put books on a shelf. Even an ambulatory wheelchair user, if they need to stand, could stand to put a book away. So it does not require you to be standing for 4 hours straight. I specifically know this to be a fact because I specifically highlighted the fact that they are willing to hire as young as 14 years old, which means they're opening themselves up to a lot more restrictions with hiring people that young than what the regular restrictions are for people, like adults working. And I know the excuse you're going to try and make is going to say that, like, oh, well, books are heavy. That's why they're telling you need to be able to lift 25 pounds. But that is not true. If you are willing to hire a 14-year-old, there is no way that you are going to be requiring them to lift, let's just say, a box of heavy books without some sort of equipment, like a dolly or something to that effect. Because if that child working so much as drops a box of books on their toe and hurts themselves, they would be in so much trouble and it would be a big safety issue. And just to illustrate my point further, I'm going to show you two more job listings. One that is actually attempting to be accessible and cast a wide net of applicants, and one that is doing the same things that the Toronto Public Library was doing with their applications. So here's the first one. It's a multimedia specialist at the University of Toronto. This job includes things like setting up and maintaining audio visual systems and a whole bunch of it's basically an AV technician. Now, I have been an AV technician before, and being an AV technician includes things like hanging lights. Even when I did this job in both high school and in university, I had to literally climb scaffolding and hang and reposition and move lights. So that would include carrying things that are very heavy, climbing up dangerous places. This job, I would completely understand if they had things listed like weight requirements that you need to be able to lift and certain mobility that you need to have in order to do the job. And yet, for this job, the only things that they ask you is if you have the qualified experience, if you know the particular like protocols and formats that they want you to know, and if you are familiar with a Mac and Windows operating system. They mention nothing about weight. They mention nothing about like the mobility that is needed because they make a statement that they are willing to accommodate. In contrast, we have a job posting for a speech language pathologist. So here's the job posting for the speech language pathologist. And here is the position description. And yet, all the way down here, the physical requirements include being able to lift 25 pounds. Nothing about that position requires you to be able to lift 25 pounds. That is just placed there to weed out disabled people. It even goes as far as to say that you need to be able to physically interact with children between 0 to 8. So you might logically think, well, that's why they're saying you need to be able to lift 25 pounds. In case of emergency, you need to be able to lift the child, right? Except 8-year-olds are between 44 and 80 pounds. So that is obviously not the reason why they're having this being able to lift requirement. You will find even the simplest office desk job will say you need to lift 25 pounds. And this is how they weed out disabled people without breaking the law. And this is in part why I chose that library page position to highlight these barriers. Not only because they had the statement about barrier-free employment, but because that specific position itself, a library page, is a library assistant. And if you're willing to hire a 14-year-old, that means they're not going to be there by themselves. If the issue was truly being able to reach high shelves, then there would be a height requirement for that job. But y'all don't see a ladder or a step stool as an accommodation or something to help somebody reach something. Whereas you're completely unwilling for somebody in a wheelchair to also need some sort of tool to help them reach higher up books. I point all this out because I fear that a lot of you expect the discrimination and the barriers to be blatant, for them to literally list on a job application that they don't want disabled people. But in reality, this is more what it looks like. It's subtle. They are able to say that any disabled applicant is just not able to meet all of the qualifications and requirements for the job, and that is why they weren't hired, not because they were disabled so that they can't get sued. Now that you're aware, you will start to see it everywhere. No matter what the job is, no matter like literally what the requirements are or what the job entails. These are the things that are put in place to be barriers for disabled people. Our society doesn't actually want disabled people around as much as possible. And these are the things that I try and highlight and make you guys aware of.